Welcome back to a single malt review. On our last episode we looked at a 10-year-old 60% ABV cask strength whiskey. And as luck would have it, we're on a similar track this week. What we got, Tim?
Well, from a totally unavailable 60% cask strength whiskey to probably the most available 60% cask strength whiskey, it's Glenfarclas 105. And it's a bit of a whiskey evergreen. It has been around longer than I have, which is a pretty long time for high strength single malt whiskey.
It is one of the sort of classic
I think it really
cask
is
strength mixes.
really is one of the first that was out there. Produced obviously by Glenfarclas. It's 10-year-old whiskey, and I think more or less always has been, and just like almost everything that Glenfarclas produces, it's quite sherry dominant. It's not exclusively sherried, but there is quite a lot going on. So, what to say about 105? If you're a whiskey fan, you should probably be familiar, and if you're not, then you really probably owe it to yourself to go and get one, because it's some of the best priced and most consistent cask strength whiskey, especially in the sherried style. I would compare it to Aberlour Buna, only with far more consistency. Buna has batches and it can go in wildly different directions depending on the batch number, which is interesting, and it's certainly good for people that like a bit of vintage variation. But if you want something that's very, very consistent, that is what Glenfarclas 105 is for.
In case you're wondering about the 105, that is the alcohol strength in British proof. I'm used to proof only coming up in bourbons and corn whiskies and the like, whereby proof is simply double the ABV. This will be 120 proof, American style. But apparently, under the English system, this is 105 proof. Now you know. Now I know.
Now you do, yes. Feel free to Google that one. Who knows why they use such an arcane thing, but it's a bit of an arcane whiskey, so never mind. What it is, though, is a really rather scrumptious whiskey. So
smells fantastic.
The
Toffee
smell
apples,
is,
salted caramel.
it really is just sherry all over. As Dave said, yeah, just lovely, lovely sweet red apple skins, really just kind of oozing with sugary goodness. There's a few dark fruits. Really quite a lot of vanilla though, which is slightly surprising.
A little milk chocolate even.
Maybe not just a little. Maybe quite a bit. It's really, really a very big desserty whiskey. It's a real after dinner kind of a dram. And really very, very strong at 60%. So it's quite odd that I'm having this much luck with the nose. Normally you'd expect your nose to be a bit numbed by that kind of a strength, but no, it's getting away with it.
Judging by that extremely dark, coppery bronzy colour, there's a lot of sherry influence in there.
No, there is. The bottle doesn't expressly state that it isn't coloured. However, I would be fairly surprised if it was. I'm not sure that Glenfarclas actually colours many, if any, of their whiskies, and I don't think they'd need to colour this one, because this is just about the colour you get when you age a dominantly sherried whiskey for 10 years. So either way, let's see what it is on the palate.
Taste?
I've kicked the GoPro yet again. I do apologise. It does remind me though that I should do the glass shot. I'll just hold it up there for you. You can see that really is quite a promising colour coming out, and quite a promising taste. That is deviously smooth for a 60% whiskey.
It is exceptionally sherry.
I could actually just sit here and drink this at 60%, which is actually quite remarkable. This is, for a young whiskey, and for a whiskey at 60%, it is outrageously smooth. I will put water in, but unusually I don't have to. I could actually sit here and drink this.
It is so sweet, so smooth and so sherry that if someone had taken a brandy and added a nip of sherry into said brandy, then I'd expect it to taste much like this.
That's wild.
Going back for a second sip of the undiluted cask strength. Yeah. A number of cask strength whiskies in my time. I always try them at their undiluted full strength. But this is one time I'll actually go back for a second sip of it, because that's...
And at full strength, what are we tasting? I'm getting red apple skins, darker bush honey, significant vanilla, quite a good sort of wet wood oak stave twang off it. It's very, very dark, very heavy, but not overwhelmingly woody.
I was just struggling with the strong, sharp sweetness, the sherry characters, and a kind of brandy-like burn. So now that I've added water, though, I may be able to get more out of it.
The water, as usual, has teased it about a bit. Now we're getting... There's more nuts in now. Hazelnuts, almonds.
Brown sugar, caramelized nuts.
No, there are a lot of nuts, and they're all the heavily caramel-coated ones, which the man sells outside your local event in the wee bags, rather than sort of fresh, healthy nuts. There is nothing healthy about this whiskey. It is the honey nut cornflake, the frosted nut, the toffied apple. It is the unhealthy version of all the things you might smell or taste in a lighter-bodied whiskey, and it's absolutely delicious.
And the flavour is delivering all of that, and then some. It's like I've taken a big swig of a fairly standard scotch, but then taking a big bite off a Whittaker's peanut slab. Milk chocolate, roasted nuts, combined.
That really is very, very satisfying. I've heard that 105 does fluctuate very, very slightly. Not nearly like, say, Abuna or Idradura Abisco is another fairly available cask strength one you can get. A bit more on the ultra sherried side, just like Abuna. But I have heard tell that 105 from Glenfarclas hasn't been as strong as it once was the past sort of 5 or so years, and that this present release, it's come back to form. And though I haven't really tried the last few years of it as comparison, I can well believe that it's improving, because this really is exceptionally good.
It is profoundly sweet. I'm almost having to reach to get some more flavours beyond just sherry sweetness. Literally just chocolate, nuts, some fruit. It's very Highland.
I think if this whiskey has a problem, and it doesn't have many, is that it is so sweet and so rich that it would be difficult to have more of it. As much as I'm enjoying it, once I'm done with this glass, I suspect I will be, if I want another whiskey, I'll need something a bit lighter bodied, a little bit crisper, just because it is quite so heavy. It does build up a little bit. It'll become quite cloying if you had an enormous quantity of it.
This would not sit well with someone who enjoys a heavily peated scotch, or enjoys a drier flavour. If you're into, say, champagne, then this would not be whiskey for you, possibly. It's very much whiskey for me, though.
I think anyone that doesn't like 105 is probably extremely picky. But there's nothing wrong with being extremely picky, but good luck finding whiskies. Well, what shall I give it in our new 100-point scale? I think, goodness gracious, it's an 80-something. I think it's probably an 84. It's a really, really strong drop for a 10-year-old whiskey. What are your thoughts?
I was thinking of scores in my head just before we came to this point, and as coincidence would have it, I came to 84 as well. It's not right up there into the high 80s, but it's above the 81 I gave it to the comparable Ben Romack last episode. And yes, 84 would do it. It's big, it's sweet, it's punchy, it's a really well-rounded, it's just a classic whiskey too.
Well, we tried to differentiate the scores with a 100-point system, but you just cannot beat consistency sometimes.
Yes,
so
and Glenfarclas do consistency.
It might as well be their slogan. Magnificent whiskey, and do try it, because a lot of the stuff we taste here, we usually have to end on, and you can't possibly buy it, because it's gone. The Glenfarclas 105 is going nowhere. It has been around longer than we have, and it will continue to be around for the foreseeable future. So next time you're going through your duty-free, is probably the cheapest and the best place to buy it. I suspect it's where this bottle came from, being a big hefty litre. Pick one up, and I challenge you to be disappointed. I really do. It's an excellent, excellent whiskey. So we will leave you there with that. If there is something you would like us to hunt down and take a look at for you, we are perfectly ready to do that. If we can find it, just let us know in the comments, and we'll do our very best. In the meantime, keep well. Sludger.